Knife Skills 101, Skills and Safety, featuring Mercer Knives, a signature culinary training course from Transform Culinary Kits, proudly in partnership with Mercer Knives. I'm Chef Darin Leonardson, and in this course, I'll guide you through essential knife skills every professional should master, no matter your kitchen setting. And along the way, we'll draw inspiration from industry greats, including Chef Stephen Beatty, Food Network carving champion, one of the best when it comes to precision knife artistry. Section 1. The tools of the trade. Let's begin with the blades themselves. In this section, we'll explore the essential knives in your role and why each one matters. We'll cover the chef's knife, your all-purpose workhorse, the paring knife, perfect for delicate detail work, the sanduku, known for swift, seamless slicing, the boning knife, ideal for protein prep and trimming, and the carving knife, Chef Beatty's specialty, designed for show-stopping slices of roasts and proteins and all the crazy things that he can carve. Section 2, honing and sharpening. A dull knife is a dangerous knife. In this segment, we'll teach you the difference between honing and sharpening, how to hone safely and correctly before each shift, the basics of sharpening with a whetstone or Mercer tool, and how to build a rhythm of maintenance that protects your edge and your fingers. Section 3, safety first. Knife safety isn't just a rule, it's a mindset. You'll learn the correct knife grip, pinch the blade, not the handle, how to stabilize your board so it never slips, why your guiding hand becomes the claw, and how to do it. Best practices for carrying, cleaning, and storing knives, especially in fast-paced kitchen. This section builds the habits that keep you and your team protected. Section 4, classic cuts and real applications. Now we get to the rhythm of the line. Cuts, chops, and control. We'll demonstrate julienne, a matchstick precision, brunoise, tiny even cubes, chiffonade, delicate ribbons of herbs and lettuces, rough versus fine dicing, when speed meets accuracy, and the difference between rocking and slicing cuts. Whether you're prepping mirepoix or portioning fruit, these cuts become second nature with practice. Section 5, the mindset of mastery. Knife mastery isn't just about speed. It's about consistency, discipline, and care. In every senior living kitchen, hospital or restaurant or hotel, the ability to cut clean, cut efficiently, and lead confidently sets you apart. This training gives you that edge, backed by Mercer tools and hands-on instruction. So sharpen your blade, center your stance, and step confidently into the next level of culinary craftsmanship. This is Knife Skills and Safety with Chef Darin Leonardson.
This is Darin Leonardson, President and CEO of Transform Culinary Solutions. I'm excited to feature our Transform Culinary Kits. Today we're featuring our Knife Skills 101 kit. In the kit, all the materials, all the equipment, all the fancy stuff, all the training materials with QR codes, it's all in there. We're excited to demonstrate some of those techniques today. We actually have a partnership with Mercer Knives, so we're going to be featuring these knives, and we also have a special little ruler that we're going to be demonstrating some of the important cuts that are the French cuts. But first, we wanted to talk about the knife. So let me put this to the side and actually open up this knife bag. So this is a cool little chef knife bag that a lot of chefs love because it holds all your knives safely. So here you can see I've got my knife kit opened up, and there is a little safety holder on all of the knives, and we have the steel. So this is a steel that actually sharpens your knife. This is also this is the diamond steel, this is the steel, so this actually sharpens your knife. This actually hones the knife, so there's a little difference we'll talk about. Here we have a bread knife, serrated knife. So as you can see, they're in these little holsters to keep things really safe. So you pull them up like this. So that's your classic bread knife. And then this is your classic 10-inch chef knife. Look at that beautiful knife. And then let me just tell you a little bit about this knife. So real quick, this right here is the tip of the knife. So that's what's called the tip. Then we've got the heel of the knife, which is really right here. That's your heel of the knife. Then we have the spine, which is this part of the knife right here. And the bolster is where it attaches right here for the metal to the handle. And then the tang is basically this whole part of the knife right here. And then we're going to go into some of the techniques on using the knives, but we're going to start with a chef knife. And then we also have a paring knife, which is great for small tasks and small like cuts like carrots and herbs and things like that. Then we have a tornado knife, which is wonderful for doing different types of fluted mushrooms and quenelle, potatoes, really cool techniques that we can do with that. So, but important to always keep your knives in the shield so that it keeps everybody safe. And then we're going to demonstrate the chef knife here, and we'll take out the steel and the diamond steel, put this back, and then what's great about this is you can put, you know, your business card or your name right there on your pack, and then we also have the enhanced version of this. So this is the garnishing kit knives, and so these are Thai knives that are incredible, and I'm not going to demonstrate how to use these. Our Chief Culinary Officer, Chef Stephen Beatty, who's a Food Network chef, he uses these in an extraordinary way and does amazing things with melons. And if you could pan into some of those shots right now, that'd be great. I'm not going to try to do it. Now, here is a Mercer ruler, which is really cool because it shows the different cuts. And so when you're actually practicing knife skills, it's really great to use this and measure what you've got. So you can see that 1/16 of an inch is actually known as a brunoise. So it's a fine brunoise, really small. There's your brunoise at 1/8 of an inch, a small dice at 1/4 of an inch, a medium dice at 1/2 inch, and a large dice at 3/4. Then you've got the different julienne. So the classic julienne is this one right here in the middle, which is a 16 or 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 by 2 inches. Then you have the fine julienne, which would be basically the fine brunoise in the length of a julienne. And then you have the bâtonnet, which is in the same size of the small dice and in that form. And then there's some other different cuts here that we're going to go through too. So really cool little handy thing. Love this little knife kit that you get in addition to all the enhanced and updated training on knife skills. So we're going to dive into some of these details here. You want to make sure that you have a damp towel, and you're going to put that underneath whatever cutting board you're using so that it sticks to your cutting board or whatever you have, so it's not going to move around. Then the next thing is you want to make sure that your stance is right. So you want to be like shoulder length apart, and this is comfortable so that you're not hurting your back. And you also want to make sure that when you have the cutting board here that your elbows are bending, but not at 90 degrees. This is actually a really great height for myself. And if it's not a good height for you, you might need to put some trays underneath it to level it up. But this is actually a really good height for me where my elbows are a little bent and I can look down. And the reason I want to know it's a good height is I should be able to look down on my knife and just see that part of the knife, which is the spine, right? That's all I want to see on my knife so that I can get really good straight cuts. And there's a few different ways to hold a knife. So after you've set up the proper, to make sure it doesn't move on you. So this is how most people will hold a knife, is just grab it like this, right? The problem with that is it's very unstable. So you see how loose that is? Then the better is the pinch grip, where you have your thumb here and your pointer finger on the other side with your 3 fingers down the heel of the knife, right? Now, look how much more sturdy that is. So you really have really good control of that knife. Then the final technique, really, so that you're not cutting your fingertips, is to have your fingers curled in like this. That's really important when you're holding really any product, right? So you're turning your fingertips in and then you're cutting those items. Now, I will tell you some different techniques that are really important. So let me just show you with the knife with this cucumber here. So I'll cut this top off, okay? And now you can see that I'm gonna do a straight cut down, and when I'm doing it, I wanna just see that part of the knife that we talked about, the spine. That's really what I wanna see so that I get a straight cut. And I wanna create a 90-degree angle as I'm cutting. So notice this, like if I bring the cucumber and the knife together, right, this is a perfect little 90-degree, and let me film it with my Meta. So here you can see through my Meta that I've got a perfect 90-degree angle with the cucumber and the knife, and that's what you want. And I just want to see that spine part of the blade. And so now there's 3 different cuts that you can do. So I can do a straight cut down, and notice my fingertips, see how the spine is right up against my knuckle right there, so I'm not letting it go, and I can go cut down like this, right? So then that's what that looks like this. And I'm moving the knife with this. You can do it that way, or you can move the product into the knife. So both ways are fine. Then there's the tip fulcrum method, where you take the tip of the knife and you go through it and you slice it. So here you can see I can get some slices of the cucumber with the tip fulcrum method. And then the other method is the rolling chop. So it'd be where I'm on my tip and I go down like this, and then I move the product into it. And then the other technique that we're going to show is the chopping, where I would have like fresh herbs and I'm chopping, where I'm holding I'm holding at the tip of the knife and I'm going through and chopping those fresh herbs. That's the other technique. So we got this cucumber done. Okay, so now when you're honing your knife, then always wipe your knives. And notice one thing, when you're wiping your blade, don't ever have the knife sharp part into the towel. You can cut through. You always want to wipe away from the blade, just like that, away from the blade. Okay, now, this is a sharpening stone. Okay, usually there's three sides to it. There's the fine, the coarse, and the medium, but I have used it so much that it finally unstuck. So we've got the fine and the coarse, which is cool. And you always want to start with the roughest part and then the finest part. Now, this is really where, if your knife is super dull, this is where you should start before you use the steel or the diamond steel. And I'm going to explain that here in just a second. So, and then this is so cool. This is actually my mother, her knife. She's no longer with us, but this is a Wüsthof Trident knife. And what I love about this knife is it's a German forged knife, and she's had it since marriage. So when she married my father, who's no longer with us, this was the knife she got passed down to in marriage, and she had it her entire life. And when I went to culinary school and I learned these techniques that I'm showing you, she started to implement them, and she never had, her knife was never dull. So when I would come over, she would proudly pull it out and show me, look at my sharp knife, and I would always cook for the family, and she was so proud of doing it. So if you follow these techniques, you'll actually never have to professionally sharpen your knife. So now, here's how you use the stone. So some people put oil on it. I don't think that it's necessary. So what I do is you want to put 3 fingertips on the heel of the knife, on that blade surface, and then grab the knife like this. And I like to put my thumb right on that bolster part, and then I'm going to slide at a 20-degree angle. So I'm at a 20-degree angle, and notice my shoulders, I'm kind of going in motion like this. You can kind of see that I'm going with it, right? And then I do like 3 that way, then I do 3 this way. And I go all the way to that heel of the knife and all the way through the blade, right? And you just go nice 3 strokes like that. Now, if you were to look at this with a magnifying glass, like before I sharpened it, you would see that it's either going this way or the other way. And the reason for that is that's what happens when you're using the cut marks. But if you look at this, and I don't know if my Meta can still see, you can see shards of metal now because this is a coarse grinder. It took the metal off the blade. So you want to then wipe your blade. Then you don't always need the sharpener. That's really if your blade is dull, okay? Then the first part, if your blade you don't think needs to be sharpened and it just isn't working correctly, that just means you need to hone the blade. So there's 3 different techniques that you can hone your knife. So the one they teach you in culinary school is this technique. So that whole pinching the knife that we talked about, and you go all the way up to the heel of the knife and you slice down at a 20-degree angle. Why 20? That's just the perfect angle of the blade so that you can get it the sharpest it possibly can. So you want to just go about 3 times on each side. Now, why do they put this here? To catch that, just in case you hit it, right? That's the safety measure. I would say I don't really feel the best when I'm doing this method. It's all in the wrist flow action. So here it looks like kind of fast, right? And that's all you need to do. Now, the honing doesn't actually take metal off of your knife. It only straightens that part. So no need to even wipe the blade with your honer. Now, a diamond steel actually have little bits of diamond, and you can kind of feel it when you run your finger over. It's ground up diamond, so it actually takes the metal off of the knife. So you can use both ways. You can use the flat side, or you can use the thin side. Now this actually sharpens your knife, and you can almost see little specks. I don't know if you can get close-ups of that. You can almost see it. I can see. And then you'll probably see it when I wipe it. When I go this way, yeah, you can see a little bit there. There's some right there, right there. So interesting. Okay, so then let me show you 2 other methods on how to hone the knife, and you can do this for the diamond and this. So you can do 20 degrees just like this, but you're still doing the wrist action, and all it takes is like 3 times. Okay, and then my favorite way, because it's away from you, is to hold the steel like this, and then the heel tip up here and go this way. And all it takes is 3. So really, you should hone your knife, paring knives, any knives, every time you cut something. So because I cut this cucumber, I should hone my knife. If you hone your knife after every production and chopping, you probably will not need to actually professionally sharpen your knife for like 3 years. And that's what my mom was really proud of, because she would always hone her knife after she had sharpened it. So, okay, so now we've got our sharp knife. We went over some of the safety things. So a great test to see how your knife is, how sharp it is the tomato test. But even before you do the tomato test, I love to do the paper test. Here's some of my notes. So you can just hold your piece of paper, and you should be able to just saw really easily through a piece of paper. If your knife's doing that, you got a nice sharp knife. I don't want to cut all the way through because these are my notes. The tomato also, just gently just put it, and if it just saws through, like I'm not even putting pressure on the knife. Like look at how thin I can get this, because now it's like sharp, and I'm just literally just sawing and using look at that, it's like paper thin. That is a great cut of the knife. So now, that was part 2. We're gonna go into part 3, which is onion breakdown. So here we have an onion. You could use a white onion, yellow onion, whatever, Walla Walla. This is your classic onion. Now, if you didn't know this, this is actually a male onion. So how do you tell the difference? Well, if it's round, it's a male. If it's flat, that is a female onion, and those are sweeter. So just know these are great for stock, and then the flat ones are great for like sautés, stir fries, or salsas and stuff like that. So it's a little trick. So we're gonna do a couple cuts here. So really this is like an onion in 5 different ways we're gonna show you. So we're gonna do a small dice, right? We're gonna do the medium dice and the large dice, or sorry, small, medium, large, right? To show you the difference. Then we're gonna also do the brunoise, the really super small one, right? And then we'll do some juliennes with the onions and show you how to do some caramelized onions as well. So what I like to do first is I like to keep that part of the onion on, and then I will cut, basically first, I cut it in half, just like this. Then I cut this part off of the onion, right? That's where it essentially grows. And then I'll pull off that first layer of the onion skin, just like that, right? And a lot of times sometimes you can leave this onion skin. If it pulls right there, it's a great gripping tool that you can hold your knife and you don't have to worry about cutting yourself, which is a cool technique. So then we're gonna start by doing let's do the large dice. So a large dice, if I was gonna do that, the large dice essentially would be, I wanna cut through, okay, but I did not go all the way through the knife, or I'm sorry, the onion. I went all the way to the end there, and now I'm gonna do it here, okay? And I'll do one more here, but I didn't go all the way through the onion. Now I'm lining this up, right? Look at that. That's pretty good. That was pretty good right there. Like, look how good that large dice is. That's pretty much perfect there. Okay, so, but I want to get accurate large dice. So that's what this guide is for. So now I'm gonna cut, and I might stop and just see, you know, what do you want to do large dice for? Well, like maybe stir fry. That'd be really good. Maybe an onion medley or something like that. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good large dice. Like you can see this other side, like it's pretty accurate there. Okay, so then if I was gonna do the smaller dice, in a sense, I'm gonna just go through one more time, right? So I'm going through one more time. Okay, and then the same thing, like if I line this up, that's pretty good. That's pretty close to that. And then I'm gonna go through here, right? And then I can just accurately kind of check to see where we're at. So this might be, okay, so that one's that's a little bit smaller, but you see the point. And then we could do the same thing with the small dice. You could go through again and do one more and do the small dice. So I have one more there to cut through. Now you've got, this is great for like a salsa, right? Or something like that. Like look at that as I put it right here, you know, and you can break it up and you get that nice, really fine little dice. And then here's your large dice right there. And then here's our small dice. And then if we were gonna do the brunoise of onion, did I say I would do brunoise? So actually first, before we do that, let's do the julienne of an onion. Now, I don't want to waste this, right? This, I could go all the way through, cut it, and then even this onion skin could go in your stocks for chicken stock or vegetable stock. Great way to do it. So if I'm gonna, let's just go ahead and cut through. Make sure we do this, and then I'm gonna show you one more technique. So then let's do the same thing again here. Let's peel. I'll cut that part there. Peel this back. Now, of course, you don't need to, you can cut that part if you want. And let's show you, since we already showed you, I can cut that off. That goes in there. Now we got a beautiful little half of an onion. So now I want to do the julienne, which is this cut right there, essentially. So you can see it's almost the same length of the onion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up, and this is where I'm going to use my technique of my 90-degree angle. and I'm looking, I should only see the tip of my knife. I shouldn't see if I see this side of the knife, then what's gonna happen is that I'm not gonna get a straight cut. I want a straight cut. I want each one of the onions to be a really nice julienne. So I'm gonna use the cut down method on this with a couple of them, right? Then I'm gonna do the tip fulcrum method where I slice through. And I'm still using my fingertip knuckle to go through, right? And I'm lining up and I'm going through, right? I'm doing it again. Okay, now if I look at this, that's kind of a cool julienne. So if I put it here, let's see if I take one of them, like that is your julienne. Now it's a little long, right? So the perfect julienne would be probably about right there, right? Now I'm not saying to painstakingly go through and do it. It's just giving you an idea of how to make the professional julienne like the French do, right? And the reason they do it is it gives it an even look. It looks more professional. And that's the reason that they do the julienne. Now this would work great for potatoes and stuff that we'll show you in a little bit so you can get that, but I'm just showing you how to do this slice. Now if I was gonna do a brunoise onion, I wouldn't do it like this way with the julienne. I would actually, let me show you this technique. So this is where I go through perpendicular like this, and you can use your fingertips like this. I like to put my fingers right here at the very tip and just saw back and forth. And that's why sometimes leaving that end on there is really good. But I want to get this really fine. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do that really fine cut. So I think this could be great for like if you're doing like little special sauces or stuff where you needed some very, very finely minced onion that might go with you know, garlic or something like that. And then now I'm going to slice this way, right? And it's difficult with an onion product. I'll show you the difference when you're cutting like a potato. You really can be pretty accurate with getting that kind of right on. And then now you can see like this little tiny piece right there, right there. So it's more of a brunoise than a fine brunoise, but some of these I could pull out and they're pretty much the fine. Oh yeah, there's one right there. That's pretty much like almost there. Yeah, I guess it's more of a fine. So I didn't go small enough, but that's what this whole thing is for. And when we get to the potatoes, you'll see the difference of how we really can get it there. But this is great for salsa or some type of sauce. And then the julienne, I'm not going to show you, but if you're making French onions, this is a perfect julienne to do with an onion, and then saute it with butter and you'll get caramelization on the onions, and that's great with French onion soup or any type of sauce or stir fry vegetables. So anyways, that's really the 5 different cuts of an onion. And now we're going to go into, potatoes are next. So first, real quick, I'm going to show you that tornado potato, so tornado knife. So if I was going to make a tornado potato, what they do in culinary school is actually they'll cut this in half first, and then what you do is you use your thumb and you basically peel the potato like this. And in culinary school, all of the skin of the potato went into a bucket of ice water, and then we made our mashed potatoes with that for all the employees and the staff. And then we reserved these beautiful little potatoes. We would sear these off and serve them with like steak or whatever. So like there's a tornado, but this is half a potato, and you could certainly do it with a full potato. So here's what that would look like, a tornado potato. So start here, peel, right? And then what's cool about this is you can roast this off, steam it, and then sear it in a pan with some butter, maybe some garlic, and serve it with steak or chicken. And that's how you can charge, $50 for a plate, because people have these tornado potatoes. But it's kind of an old technique, right? Like nobody, you probably in America haven't gotten a potato like this, but imagine if it was and it was like golden seared with a piece of steak. It'd be beautiful. You can just visualize that on the plate. And then this stuff goes in ice water. So that's the Tornado potato, which is cool, and making me want to actually make some of these with this roasted chicken that we're going to do. So we'll do that. Okay, so then wipe that. Now let's talk about the potatoes. This is kind of your basic premise. Let's bring out the old school knife for this in honor of my mom, because I know that the blade is kind of dull. I haven't used it in a little bit, so just real quick. Let's go through. Grind that down. And then I didn't do it with last time, then end with the fine. But before you do the fine, shave that metal off. And you can see it just really glides through. Okay, then I'm going to go through the diamond steel with that. For kicks, let's see how fast I can go. Oh, okay. So the important thing with any vegetable is you want to create a flat spot for more safety. So in order to do that, look at the vegetable and see where is it the flattest, right? So it seems to be the flattest here. Like if I put it here, it naturally goes that way, but it's more flat that way. So then create the 90-degree angle and create a little flat spot, okay? Now look at that, and I only shaved that little bit off the potato. So now we're going to go through the different cuts with the potatoes. So because I want to show you the different aspect of that. Okay, so then you create the 90-degree angle, and then we're going to start. I'm going to cut. We're basically going to make a nice julienne here, so I can show you this technique. So I'm going to cut through, and now I'm going to do my julienne cut, but I'm going to cut some flat pieces. Okay, so that's what I want to do, is just cut some flat pieces. Then what you do is you stack them up, and I'll take this one out. That'll go in the mashed potatoes. And then I want to square them off. I want to create a rectangle, but I want to do it creating a 90-degree angle. Use the tip fulcrum method. Okay, then turn it. I'm going through like this, and I'm basically creating my julienne, right? Because I want it to be the same length, so it's not quite there, and it's supposed to be 2 inches. So here you can use this ruler so you can see right there. I got to cut about right there, right? Then I want to cut this part off right there, square it off. We already squared it off there. Then now I can look at my piece. So it should be even on all sides. It looks like it's a little fat there. Oh, this one a little bit too fat. You know, this too fat right there. So I need to do a better job of cutting. But to do the julienne, you would stack it up like this, right? And then I want to do 1/8 of an inch, just like this. And I'm slicing through. And so this is your perfect, well, not perfect because I didn't do it completely perfect, but it's pretty darn good, right? Then we would look at this, like the chef would actually make us look at this. He would, is that a perfect square? Like that one actually isn't, right? But that one is. And what I encourage you to do is until you get your julienne cuts like this, then just keep cutting and keep making, you know, mashed potatoes out of the skins, because this will give you such a great technique for cutting other vegetables. So that's your classic julienne. And then if you were going to do your fine julienne, you would go even finer, right? So cutting through, it's almost paper thin, right? Now remember, this is my mom's knife, which is still pretty good. So that one, decent. This one got a little too thin. That one's good. So then I'm gonna stack these up, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Make my rectangle. I wanna get my ruler out. And now I'm gonna go through and do an even smaller cut. And that is your fine julienne, right? So like looking at that, it's a lot finer, but it's actually more, I would say it still needs to get even finer than that. That's not the fine julienne, or that's not a fine julienne. It's close though, but you can see I need to go even I need to go more. But then to tell how your brunoise is, if you were to stack these all up, right? So you put them all up into a stack like this, still create that 90-degree angle. And now I'm gonna slice through like this, right? And this is your brunoise cut. Which is funny because I haven't been using the ruler and I've been cutting this, and normally I'm like, oh, that is a fine brunoise cut. But if I take that, right, and I put that little thing right there next to that brunoise, that looks more like a brunoise, not a fine brunoise. So the fine brunoise, holy cow, that is small. So, but this is a brunoise, so that's actually good. So we're gonna cut now really through, and it's like almost paper thin, right? You should almost be able to see it through it. See, it's hard to even get it down there. That one definitely. These ones are definitely good. So now I'm gonna separate it out. At this point, I'm kind of eyeballing it, right? I kind of know. This is looking better. Cut that little part off right there. And now, wow. This is your fine brunoise. And it's really great with the tip fulcrum method. And now, turn it. Holy cow. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know of any application that you're gonna need this. Maybe a little garnish on something. But that is impressive, right? Like now, I love that you have that close-up camera. Now, there we go. So a paysan is actually, so it's basically like a medium dice. So imagine we're doing this, and you'd section it off, right? Just like this. Then you would make a square. Okay, the paysan is where you take these and you make little squares, right? Little squares that are flat, and then you could. I've seen some French chefs do this, right? This is a pain in the butt, but I'm telling you, like, to be a Michelin star restaurant, these are the techniques that you've got to know in order to get a Michelin star kind of food. And so you could do the triangle cut, right? So you can get triangles out of this, right? Which is kind of interesting. And you can do this with all kinds of different vegetables, or the paysan cut. So I created a flat spot. I'm doing just the classic, McDonald's French fry. So now I'm gonna cut. This is like your small dice, essentially. So I'm cutting through small dice, right? Now McDonald's is pretty even, so they actually do go through this process where they're like this, and then they round them out, cut off some of that. And now, do your cut, right? And then fry these suckers up, and then you're gonna have, I promise you, something better than McDonald's. Now, carrot, real quick, let me just show you that, because this is interesting. These aren't very big, but give you the idea. So carrots are very hard, I'm not gonna lie. So you peel the carrot. Potatoes are the easiest to practice. So peel the carrot, You know, this all can go in the stock, like your stock. If you wash it, it could certainly go in salads too. We'll probably put it in our roast chicken. Cut the tops off, right? Then the bottom. Okay. Then a couple things you can do, right? You can do your bias cut carrot, and notice I'm turning my carrot this way. So this is a great cut in stir fry. We'll probably throw it in with the carrot. So that's a great, like, sort of Asian cut with your stir fry. Then you could do the same process with the fine julienne. Same thing, you want to create that flat spot. And maybe I want to do a fine julienne here with the carrot. And it's difficult, I'm not gonna lie, like holding it, lining it up, balancing it with your knuckle, but it's practice. Then take these, stack them up, right? And then same thing, I'm creating that 90-degree angle, holding it, I'm pinning it down with my knuckles, and now I'm going through and doing my fine julienne. And as long as it's like stacked, you can kind of get through it. So that's great for a salad, or even in a stir fry with vegetables, like imagine that. Sauteed with some sugar snap peas, red peppers, and then of course I could cut it this way and make my brunoise out of that as well. So really just kind of get creative and play around with that. Let me show you one more quick little knife skill thing too with an apple. So cut an apple, cut the core out, just like that. I think we've showed this before, but I actually love, so what I like to do with an apple, if I'm doing like an apple salad, is slice it. This is essentially almost like a julienne that you're doing, right? And then what's cool with an apple, when you do a slice like this, you can do a couple things. You can fan it, right? Like that. Or on a salad, you can take it, maybe you take a few of these, and you could fan it like this, right? And then that goes on a beautiful salad. You could squeeze a little lemon, but that's a really cool way to do apples, pears, stuff like that. Oh, and then I'm not really good at it, but there's a thing called fluted mushrooms. And let's see if it's been so long. So you actually hold, hold on, it's been a little bit. You hold you hold it that way. So I had a chef that did it so well. So you go like this, and it goes around, but I'm absolutely terrible at it. And it makes this cool divot in the mushroom, and then you roast them like that. It's called a fluted mushroom. And it doesn't look good right now, but once you roast it off, it like becomes glazed and different look of the mushroom. So we'll throw a few of those into the roasted chicken too. So we got 2 chickens here. I'm gonna pat dry the chickens. I'm draining them, should be dry. So I'm gonna show you 2 times because I think it's important to see something twice sometimes. So we'll do 1. So we got this, 2 chickens. Then, how to cut the chicken. Now you could use a boning knife, which is a smaller, thinner knife. Let's see if I have one. I might have, oh yeah, so here's a boning knife. So actually, let's use that. And real quick, I'm gonna just put it on my steel because I ain't got time to sharpen. So I'm gonna sharpen it with my diamond steel. I'm gonna wipe it. I'm gonna hone it. Okay. Then I'm gonna put a pan right over here because we're gonna put all these nice hearts, some salt and pepper. We're just gonna make a nice roasted chicken. One of my favorites. So we're gonna oil, just a little avocado oil. And then you take your chicken. So you grab so obviously you take the liver, anything out of it. And then you hold this butt part of the chicken right here. So here you've got the thigh, the drumstick, right, the two breasts, the wings, and you cut right here by holding this, and you go through the backbone. So you can hear it crunching through, okay? Just like that. Then you go through the other side this way. Just like that. Then the backbone will come right out. Cut off some of that fat part right there. This goes in your stock, okay? Then right here, you're gonna flip it, just like that. Okay, this is what's known as a spatchcock chicken. So if you were to cook it like this, it's called spatchcock. Then what I want to do is I want to separate the breast, so I'm pushing it down, and I'm going to go right through the breast plate and separate. Now you've got a whole half chicken, right? So when you order that in a restaurant, that's what a half chicken is. And then to go a step further here, a lot of times these tips are taken off, right? So that's taken off. Then the wing, so what you want to do is you can feel the joint of the wing right here, and you cut through. The whole idea is to cut through the joint. So here you can see I went through the joint, and there's your more of a upscale version of a chicken wing. But then as we know it, everyone likes the flat and the wing, right? So then there's your chicken wing, and there's your flat, right? So we'll throw those on there. Then what you do, here's your breast and your thigh and drumstick. So you're gonna cut this way through the knife, and then it separates the breast from the drumstick. And then for ease of cooking this a little faster, I like to go through the breast one time just to separate it, but you don't have to. We'll do that. And then we're gonna cut and separate the thigh from the drumstick, and the same thing, it separates. There's a bone joint right through here, and you can kind of see it right there. See how you get right there? So you can hear it. I'm right through it right there. That's exactly what you want to hit right there, just like that. Okay, so we got that. And then you can work on the other side. So sometimes you'll have chicken wings that are actually all together like this. And what's great about this boning knife is this thing, it can kind of work around the bone, and you can grip it better than a chef knife. So there's your full chicken wing, right? So we'll roast one like that. Then let's separate this again. Okay. And since these breasts are pretty big and I'm gonna roast it, we're gonna cut it in half again. We've got the bone on it, and that's okay. We could take the bone off, but I'm just really showing you the technique on how to cut a chicken. Then we're gonna cut, same thing here, the drumstick from the thigh, just like that. Okay, and then since we've got a bunch of stuff here and I wanna roast some, I'm gonna take some carrot, why not, right? Let's take some carrots, let's put some potatoes on there, all these potato pieces. Let's just do this. Actually, let's not waste anything, people. Let's put it all on. Even the brunoise potatoes. Okay. Then let's put this chicken. We'll roast that whole a little bit later. Take my gloves off. And then a little salt and pepper. Fresh pepper. Camera guy's got to eat a little something. Salt. A little more oil over the top of the chicken, and then we're going to roast that off. And I like to do it at 400 degrees, convection heat, right up on the top. And that'll probably be ready in about a half hour, midway while we're. So a couple techniques we're going to show. So you see this lovely citrus water that I've got going on. I'm going to show a little special element to that where we can jazz it up for summertime. But before we do that, let me show a couple other techniques. So this is all from the garden. So beautiful rose. We're gonna use some of those petals because they're beautiful and they're edible actually. It's a beautiful yellow rose. And then I picked just 2 herbs, or actually 3 herbs. I've got Thai basil. Love it for its aromatic qualities and spicy tones. And then this is fresh spearmint. This is gonna be lovely in our little summer water that we're gonna jazz up. And then we've got beautiful opal basil, and I'm gonna show a technique that is the chiffonade, which is a very popular technique for French. So let's actually start. So this is the citrus water we always make for our family. You can get these at Costco. I think they're like 20 bucks. It's amazing. And what we do is we freeze giant ice cubes, and every morning we will make a different water. So today I started with some fresh lemon and orange in there, but I want to jazz it up a little bit. So first of all, we'll freeze giant ice cubes. So a lot of times we'll freeze these. If we have these, I'll do that. Or sometimes I'll just use Tupperware and freeze the ice cubes. But this stays cold for a very long time, so I've got 4 of them here. So what I like to do first is just rinse them just to get any of the freezer taste out of it. Rinse them, plop them in so they stay fresh. And then I've got another lemon here that I'm gonna slice up. So what I do is slice the lemon, I'll leave the last one, put the skins in, and then squeeze that fresh lemon right in there. And then I'll use my knife and just stir that around. I mean, the kids will just drink this up, but if you jazz it up, it's pretty exciting. So I thought we would do a couple things. Let's add some fresh watermelon and pineapple to it. So I cut this up yesterday. So I got some beautiful sweet pineapple. So we're gonna put some pineapple in there. And we're gonna put some of this lovely watermelon into there. Just a couple essence. And really, you know, that is what this refreshing water is called agua fresca, and it's just fresh water, right? And you don't have to have a ton of fruit. The essence of it will bleed out into the water and just taste incredible. So we really have some amazing stuff already in there, but I want to jazz it up even more. It almost looks like a sangria, but clear. So to do this chiffonade, let's do it with the mint because we're going to put that in first. So you pull the mint leaves off the stem and really just get, you know, about 6 to 8 of them. Find the bigger ones, the better. And in fact, when I'm doing chiffonades, a little trick, I'll leave these tips for like garnish on desserts and stuff, and I'll save the big leaves on the bottom for my chiffonade and stuff like that, okay, from garnishing a dessert. So then I've got my stacks of leaves, and then I'm gonna pull them together. You can smell that, right? That mint smells so good. Then I'm gonna roll them real tight, just like that. Then same technique, right? I'm creating that 90-degree angle. And this, I'm gonna do the rolling technique, and I'm using my knuckle, and this is what's known as the chiffonade cut. So this works great for basil, for romaine lettuce, for iceberg lettuce, for green leaf, wonderful in tacos, right? Garnish on things. But here, we're just gonna take some of that fresh mint, and we're gonna drop it in there. That way it gives a nice essence in there. And then love rose petals. I love to use sometimes those leaves. And so I'm gonna take those and show you the technique again with that chiffonade with the rose petals. So we'll pull those off, roll it up, and do a rose petal chiffonade. Roses are completely edible. That's gonna add like this whole floral, nice element to my water. And look at how pretty that looks, like for summertime. It's so cool. And then we'll put the lid on, and we'll get a little cup. Give it a little try. Oh my gosh. I tell you, the pineapple's in there. I'm getting a little bit of the mint. I can smell the rose. So delicious. So make some agua fresca. Do it unique. Don't just do citrus water. Do it unique. Add pineapples, fruits, herbs, all kinds of stuff. Your kids are gonna love it. Now we're gonna do mirepoix. So mirepoix is a quintessential French term for carrots, celery, and onions. But it's actually in different parts. So it's 50% onion to 25% carrots to 25% celery, okay? So eyeball it basically, but that's essentially what mirepoix is. Now, what is it used for? It's for so many different things. So like, we basically have it in our roast chicken. All chefs start all their soups and sauces always with a mirepoix. They do it in different versions. So like if I'm roasting for stock, I'm gonna do a large dice cut of the vegetables. I will wash them, but I won't get into detail like peeling the skin. I want the skin because there's flavor on it. Even onion skin goes into stock. Now, if I'm doing it for a soup per se, then I'm going to cut it a lot smaller so that it's even looking and it looks nice, right, in your soup. But if it's for a sauce, I'm going to cut it very, very fine. So let me just show you what I would do with this mirepoix. So first of all, I'm going to just wash the celery part. Might be a little dirt there. And then I'm gonna cut that part off. That's gonna go in our little stock part. Then you saw how I cut an onion. So if I was doing it for a soup per se, I would do it like this. Now if I was doing it for a stock, I literally would just like whack it here, and cut it like that and leave the skin on and throw it in. But if I'm doing it for a soup, this is the way I would do it for a soup. So I'd cut it like this, and I would do a couple cuts here. So one here, one there. Then I'm gonna go through and basically do a small dice. Because you're thinking, when you think of making a soup and someone has a spoon, right, you want it to be able to fit on a spoon, and it's gonna obviously cook down and sweat some, but I think that that's a good small dice for the onion. So there's your 50% onion, right? And then this can go in the stock, so we'll reserve that for the stock. Then we need to do our carrots, and because we're doing the carrots for the soup, I would want to peel them. But if it was for a stock, I would keep the peel on it. So I'm going to peel it. We'll use this for the stock a little bit later. Then cut these tops off, that can go in the stock. Cut the tip off here. Then what I'm gonna do is, a lot of ways you're creating that flat spot too for the carrot. So here's a great flat spot. So I'm gonna cut one cut here, one cut here. I'm gonna do the same thing for here and here. So I made basically like a slice. Then I can stack them if they stack, right? Some of them might stack, some of them might not, and that's okay. So these ones stack. So I'm gonna slice this here, then I'm gonna go through and do a slice here, and now I'm gonna do my small dice cut. Now I'm kind of following the vegetables here, because if I push them forward, sometimes some of these stick out, and so I find that if I follow with my knife and my knuckle, I can get a pretty good cut. So that's probably a little bit more than 25%, but pretty much 25%. Then that we'll reserve for stock. I'll cut this off for stock. Then same thing with this. That's probably about 25%. And I'm gonna cut here, 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 stack it up. I smell that roast chicken. Okay, then essentially that is your classic mirepoix, which is 50% onion, 25% carrot, 25% celery. It is the base to all French cooking, and that's how you should start all your sauces, soups, anything that you do. It's going to make it absolutely taste delicious. The variation to this is the Holy Trinity. So if you've heard of that before, that is 50% onion, 25% celery, and 25% green pepper. So that's how you make the Holy Trinity. It excludes the carrot. So, all right, so there's the mirepoix. Now I'm going to show some vegetables. So we'll add that right here. I'm going to show some unique vegetables. So one of the fruits I love to cut, yes, and I got a giant papaya. So my family doesn't love papaya, but I do. And I want some, so I'm going to cut it. And now you've seen me cut, I think, both these fruits before, but definitely important knife skill. So with papaya, cut the top off, bottom off. If you can get that sticker part off too. A lot of times it sticks. Up like this, right? Now you could try it with a peeler, and if it does come off, that's good, and it is. So if you're able to do this, this is the way to go, because then the flesh closest to the skin is actually very sweet. So I don't want to take off much of that. So if I can reduce it as much as I can, that's really important to me. I think the one reason I love papaya is growing up with my parents, they would take my family, us, to Hawaii. And we had, if you've ever been there, we had the chance to have their papayas. They're known as a strawberry papaya, and they have like a reddish hue. So you'll see I'm just kind of getting a little bit of that last little bit down there. And I just crave that smell, and maybe it's because I remember going in the water and surfing. I mean, look how beautiful that fruit is. Like, it's just an amazing fruit. And so the interesting thing is the seeds of a papaya, you can roast them, and they're very peppery. So you can actually make a mock pepper from the seeds of a papaya if you just roast them in a pan, and you can actually end up grinding them. Not going to do it today, but I have done it before, and it was very unique. So I'm going to pull the seeds off. And this is a great looking papaya, because look at that red hue color of the papaya. So I'm going to scoop out those seeds. And some of those get a little caught in that center area. Well, this is a ripe one, because you saw how that like fell off. So look at that, it's beautiful. Then what I do is I'll cut it in half here, and then I'll turn it just to see if there's any flesh area. And then same kind of technique, I'll go like this, just so that it can be flat, and then I try this. Oh my God. That is incredible. Why do people not like papaya? Now to slice it, I'll slice it like this. Notice I'm using, well, I started with the tip fulcrum, and now sometimes this is a classic thing that happens with fruit, is it'll stick to your knife. And that's one of the reasons why people use the sendoku knife with the little tiny divots in it, because it'll prevent the vegetables from sticking. Man, that looks good. Then I might pull that one out, and then I'll fan it like this. You know, this would be great for like breakfast. You know, just a nice little tray of some fresh papaya. So that's how you do the papaya. Then you eat. Oh man, we could also need honeydew, but we'll do it. All right, so then cantaloupe, top off, bottom off. You know, it's summer, so you would think this fruit's starting to get good. And then you saw around it. You can't use a peeler, it's too thick. And you just saw, angle it. If you can do it in one swoop, that's the best, it kind of very much looks like that tourneau of that potato that I was showing. So in a lot of ways, you're kind of doing that. So that's all garbage. Then cut it in half, right? And then obviously scoop out the seeds of the cantaloupe, just like that. And the same thing with the cantaloupe. Cantaloupe I always cut like that. Then I'll cut this part. That goes in a nice diced fruit. Have it flat. And this is that fun technique you can do, just like I did with a watermelon. You can cut out maybe this little part right there. That can go in your diced fruit. I could even do another one here. So you get some texture in it. And then the slice. And then what I do, sometimes I'll stack up like this other part here. I'll push it up against it so that the fruit won't stick to it, my knife. And then as I'm able to execute, I'm pushing that cantaloupe so the fruit's not sticking. In a lot of ways, it's almost like looking like star fruit. Right? Then I'll push that together. But then I may shape it, right? Like look at that, and then you can like bend it, right? And then you might want to put that right here and shape it around that. So you can see, I mean, this is like how you get like a 5-star fruit platter, like imagine it with berries and kiwis and stuff like that. I mean, that's how you really jazz up your fruit. So anyways, just wanted to show you some of my techniques on knife skills for fruit. All right, this is that roast chicken. And then this one, it's almost there. This one needs a little bit more. Yeah, but you can see it nice and plump. With those potatoes, we're gonna put that one back in.
Looks amazing.
But that one just needs another 20 minutes probably to get it to 165. Isn't that nice?
You're an expert.
So we'll do some butter lettuce. A little bit of butter lettuce. This sweet pepper. I'm making you your lunchy lunch. Put some sweet bell pepper on. Some cucumber. Sweeten it up. A little bit of pineapple. So we get our color in there. Then we'll do one of these roasted veg right there on the plate. A nice piece of roasted chicken. Do a thigh, a drumstick, a thigh there. More roasted veg. This one we'll get a potato. All that deliciousness. We'll put a thigh there, a wing. Doing thigh there, and a breast piece there. So we're gonna drizzle that over that chicken and the veggies. We'll take a little of that avocado oil over the salad, fresh pepper, a little bit of aged balsamic. Oh, that looks good. And then a little kosher salt. There we go, voila. little summer chicken salad with some of our stuff from the knife skills class. Enjoy. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.